webinar here. So today's webinar topic is enhancing intake, orchestration, and project management. This is a joint venture here between Focal Point, whom I represent, and Market Dojo, represented by my friend Ben here. So we're very pleased to bring this subject matter to you folks today. We're going to have a lot of back and forth, a lot of dialogue and talking. So as we do that, if you have questions, please make sure you pop those in the chat panel here on the live stream, and our moderator will get those over to us, and we'll be sure to answer those. So we're really excited about this, and we're going to push ourselves forward into the agenda now. All right, here's the topics. We got an action-packed 30 minutes for you. Here's what we're going to be covering. So first of all, like, you may not know necessarily who we are, so we're going to introduce ourselves. Who is Focal Point? Who is Market Dojo? Kind of get that out of the way. And then we're going to start talking about why our partnership matters. Once you understand a little bit more about who we are and then who Market Dojo is and sort of our solution set, then it'll start to make sense, like why our partnership is so important into the market in the procure tech space, particularly as it pertains to this intake and orchestration. So then we're going to fast forward a little bit into the value, talking about the value of this strategic orchestration and sourcing married together here. And then we're going to talk about a use case for a customer of one of ours, and then a joint client, and then talk about strategic opportunities that are available as part of this intake and orchestration married together with sourcing solutions. And then lastly, we will try to put a little bit of time toward the end for some Q&A. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let my friend Ben here introduce himself, and then I'll do the same for me.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Zach, and thank you for having the time for me today, and really excited to be going through the topics you've just covered there. So hi, I'm Ben Harvey. I am the Senior Product Manager for Market Dojo, based out of an unusually sunny and warm UK this Thursday afternoon for us. I have been with the company 6 years now, I believe, and the company itself's been running for 13 or so, focusing on procurement solutions, an array of modular solutions, with our wheelhouse being e-sourcing, and that's the bulk of what we're going to talk about today. So we're started by procurement professionals, and I built up from there with our on-demand solutions. So yeah, really excited to be talking through this partnership today. And Zach, I think a lot of people probably know you, but do you want to give 2 things about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey everybody, I'm Zach Bolt. You've already heard my voice, but now you got a name to go along with it. I'm the SVP of Product Strategy and Operations here at Focal Point. We are a leading intake and orchestration solution, kind of a hot topic in the market right now. I've been on board here for 3 years. Been in procurement tech, though, for a minute, about 15 years, and I've done different JAGs at procurement technology organizations, as well as done a good bit of consulting on procurement technology and transformation. So at Focal Point, we're an AI-powered procurement management platform. Think about us as an orchestration solution. We do request intake, we do orchestration, we do procurement project management, and we link out and connect systems and technologies and people all together and enable you to collaborate cross-team, cross-individual, cross-groups, cross-product, and that lets us help you maximize the value out of the investments that you've already got in procurement tech and help fill in the white space. So I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to speak here today. And on these webinars, you don't often get the opportunity to have 2 product people on talking about this. So Ben knows more. He's forgotten more about Market Dojo than I'll probably ever know. And then on our side, you've got me, who leads kind of the overall product strategy. So you're going to get a lot of detail and information on how to productize and centralize it around that. So we're going to jump on in. Ben's got a few slides he's going to talk through here that I think you're going to find really impactful.
Yeah, so I wanted to give some context around the way that we see procurement solutions moving, and to maybe echo some of the things that the people yourselves on the call may be experiencing within your teams, and to let you know what kind of the wider market is thinking about. This is how we decide what we're going to develop next. I'm sure Zach's doing similar things on his side as well, and it's where this partnership kind of came out from, is looking at, general trends on what people are looking to achieve from their solutions in the modern age. So it's a report from Gartner. I'm just going to touch on a couple of key points, but the 2 to really point out is that innovation seems to be a much larger theme for procurement teams at the moment. What are they looking to get out of things from 2025 all the way through to 2030? And you can see that innovation, over half of procurement teams are looking to drive forward and to have solutions that are driving forward innovation and that they can lean on. There's a little bit more on that on the next slide as well. And then on the cost reduction side, continues to be a hot topic, perhaps going forward, people are looking, there's a real focus on cost reduction now, and I'm sure there will be indefinitely going forward, but slightly more rolled back when compared to, okay, well, let's try and streamline things, maybe reduce cost in that way by increasing efficiency, as it were.
What's interesting about this slide here, and I like the one that you've got circled there around innovation. That's honestly higher up than I would have thought it would have been rated as well myself, if I had been looking at this survey and said, hey, how are procurement people going to rate this? And I think what's instructive about that is, like, it signals, I think, a cultural shift that we're seeing in the culture abroad, but then inside of organizations. And procurement wants to be seen as, I hesitate to say cool. I won't use that term, but more as a thought leadership center, as an innovative center, to help people find better solutions. And then they're looking at starting and doing it themselves within their own tech stacks. And how can we modernize? How can we bring more innovation? How can we give our customers in the business a better experience in working with us? And with what we do, I hear that all the time. And so it's, when I hear those conversations, it's no surprise that innovation falls up there that high, which is great news for companies like Dojo and for Focal Point, who are on the cutting edge of innovating with AI embedded into sourcing processes and in orchestration and tying things together and helping you maximize value out of investments that you've already got. That's innovative right there. So that's something that really stands out to me, Ben, on this slide.
Yeah, and if we go on to the next slide, you can see what those kind of trends look like, and what priorities are people looking at going forward. So we're talking about innovation. What other innovation could mean a lot of things. What are teams looking at in terms of their top priorities? And AI, as you mentioned, a hot topic. You can't go through a product webinar in 2025 without mentioning AI at least a few times. So clearly, there's an investment and a drive towards using AI technologies. Whether that is on the front end, kind of determining what to do next, or lagging in the sense of reviewing what's already been done and making sure that efficiency is as good as it can be. So those are what the other two kind of touch on, is that review of what's been happening to try and increase efficiency, whether that's through AI or other solutions. So access to that data lakes, and more powerful reporting people are always looking for, and just looking to get the most out of their solutions that they have today. And this is where a partnership like ours allows people to get the most out of both of our solutions without kind of being siloed between one or the other. And it's why we're looking always to enhance that kind of suite that we can provide, and make sure that we are bolstering the procurement teams as much as possible.
Yeah, I think probably the only time I'm going to mention AI here is to say that I'm not going to mention AI. I'm actually going to make a comment on the other 2 points here. Investing in data and analytics technologies. But what I'm finding is that the market is expecting people or products. They don't want to necessarily have to go buy new analytics tech. They already got it. They're looking for analytics to be embedded in the new tech that they're buying, and stuff that is predictive, and stuff that is provides meaningful and impactful insights, and how they can continue to innovate and to transform and to run their businesses better. And then on the upgrade and the use of optimization of current technologies, one thing that the orchestration layer that we offer at Focal Point enables people to do is, I talk to people all the time that are almost despondent about, we've already got this tech, and they don't talk to each other, and we just can't seem to get there. Now there's a solution in the market that enables you to, okay, you're locked into contracts. That's okay. We can optimize that whole process and drive a value chain through it to help you improve your overall experience through the use of orchestration solutions, which, Market Dojo is connected into that as well. Yep. And so being able to get the most out of the tech that you've already got and drive adoption so that you maximize and hopefully increase the ROI of solutions you've already invested in. That's part of the extended business case of an orchestration application.
Absolutely. And if we go on to the next slide, you can actually see what do people expect to get out of that. So, what are the tangible reasons that people are moving in and looking at getting more out of their existing systems. So the objectives are written kind of detailed on the left, but on the right hand side, you can see what you can expect to achieve by doing more tech-driven procurement and making sure that you're getting the most out of your platform. So, from a variety of reports we've put together into a Pathfinder report from Market Dojo's site, you can see cost savings. You can expect to get that from increased efficiency, more access to different categories or what have you, and just streamlining the process. Reducing human error is huge, so more automation throughout the entirety of the procurement workflow. We've got some now automatic creation of events that just removes that human error entirely. You set things up once in the first instance, and then it's done for life, right? As well as, what comes with cost savings is the cycle time reduction as well, and then increased efficiency alongside that. So versions on a theme there, the kind of cost, the cycle time, the efficiency, they all go hand in hand with one another. What you're looking for is less time to be wasted through your procurement function so that they're doing the right things with the right tools.
Let me ask you a question, Ben, and I don't mean to
Sure.
put you on the spot here. I'm going to have a comment on focal points, part of our value lever and ROI, and then I'll drill down on how we productize that. But let me ask you a question on Market Dojo with your sourcing app specifically, which we're discussing here, that's deeply integrated into our platform.
Yeah.
What do your clients tell you in terms of like savings with the throughput of the categories that they're doing? What are they getting as opposed to where they were before to the Market Dojo solution, which I love? It's so easy to use. I mean, anybody can do it. Even a caveman can use Market Dojo. And so what are your clients telling you in terms of percentage savings that they're getting back? If you've got a number ready to hand, throw that at me, please.
Yeah, so we tend to be pretty category agnostic. We are an on-demand solution, so we open ourselves up to anyone who wants to use us. There's public and private features as and when people see fit, but across the board, we're expecting typically a 16% savings. Obviously, depending on the kind of market you're in, there's more access to different savings, but across the board, the kind of stats we've run, 16% is typical of what we expect to see run through the tool, which is, a massive return on investment for us. All our pricing is available online, so you can figure out very quickly how quickly you can return that ROI on your investment with us.
But that's huge, Ben. That's huge. And now I'm going to add a layer on top of that. Okay, so 16%, kind of a blended category agnostic ROI of 16%. Okay, fantastic. And then you think about, so our clients tell us that when they implement Focal Point, they gain per FTE in their sourcing organizations 20 to 30% of their time back. Okay, so let's say 20. That's a day a week. All right. How much more spend are you able to touch? How many more categories are you able to take to market? How much risk can you mitigate with that? So our business case, at least partially, is predicated on that. When you blend those two numbers together, the ROI, the business case for the two solutions combined, I mean, just goes, it's not additive math, it's multiplicative math.
Yes.
On the ROI. It's literally a no-brainer business case to do this. And y'all have used our solution, you love it. We've used yours, love it. It's we're combined, we're so easy to use. It's almost a brain dead sort of business case in my view.
Yeah, if we go on to the next slide, actually, we can talk about the different stages of where you might find yourselves listening to this discussion. Maybe you're at the very what we've been developing of these kind of maturity levels about where you might be within your teams. At the very bottom, you're looking at running everything through email and Excel and sending things out manually that way. And obviously, there's an initial saving to be made straight away by digitizing and opening up the visibility and making sure that things will be running much more efficiently, much clearer, and you can open yourselves up to more suppliers immediately. Right up to the very top end, where we're talking about automation on the event creation side in Market Dojo, where if you're particularly for direct spend, you can set up an event in 3. You select I'm sourcing in this area for this amount for this category, and it creates your event for you. Through to things like this partnership, right? So making sure you're getting the maximum out of all your solutions comes with that level of procurement maturity. So as you start to build up, get more comfortable with digitalization, you can't eat the elephant all at once. It's one bite at a time. So stage iterations, making sure that first you got the digitalization in place, but now perhaps you're on board with Focal Point, maybe you're on board with Market Dojo, you can start to get the most functionality out of those systems, as well as linking the two together. Obviously, I wonder, Zach, if what are the kind of higher level things that people might be expecting to get out of Focal Point that perhaps those who first come on aren't looking at, or what are there similar trends you see in your solution as to people who have just started to digitize versus those who are very practiced?
Yeah, that's a great question. So here's what I've observed. So people come to the table and they have these wild aspirations and fully integrated processes. And the reality is that it takes time and people's time and your own IT staff's time and buy-in from the organization. And then what I find is when we start double clicking into like implementation of orchestration processes, people start uncovering the gaps in their own process, and they realize, hey, we don't have this fully buttoned up. I've just got a process flow that we've been working through for a proof of concept for a massive PE firm, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, you've actually got gaps in your processes here, and we've got to figure these things out. So, I don't want to use a tired and trite phrase, but you crawl, walk, and run. You start where you are. You can't start where you're not, and then have realistic expectations on where you want to get to and how long it's going to take to get there. Listen to your consultants, which like the people that implement Dojo and the people that implement Focal Point. We do this all the time. Listen to our advice. Probably don't think you're going to have a fully integrated, like with all of your core backend systems and all your processes fully integrated on day one. That's a noble goal, but probably not going to get there. And start with things that are going to drive high ROI and quick wins. Start there, and then we'll build from there.
Perfect. Okay, the kind of slide setting the scene, as it were, before we go and chat through some of the things that we can provide is where are people on this journey? So as you mentioned, Zach, everyone wants to get right to the end, but where are companies on that kind of journey into bringing about maturity within their businesses? So a few different studies here that we've been able to pull from. So Deloitte looked at 50% of procurement teams are still relying on email and spreadsheets. Obviously, I think of those, a huge significant portion would want to get off that and start to move towards a digitized solution to improve efficiency, oversight, what have you. Further to that, 60% on top aren't advanced enough in the digitization that they have done. So of the remaining 50, an even smaller proportion are happy with where they're at. And then further to that, an even larger portion of procurement teams are doing something to improve their current standing, right? So 74%, according to Gartner, surveying CEOs and procurement teams, looking at, 74% of teams have got some kind of initiative in place to push things forward. So that's what we're hoping to provide, both for our individual solutions and this joint solution as well, is giving you access to pushing forward efficiency throughout your team. Fab.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about some of the benefits here of the partnership between Focal Point and Market Dojo. I'm going to take this first bullet point here and speak about it a little bit. We've got half a dozen of these here, so we'll be chatting through these over the course of the next several minutes. So streamline request management, one of the key values here in the partnership. Intake and orchestration has become, it is the hot topic in the market. And over the last 10 or 12 years, I've watched different waves of technology come to the fore. And sourcing will jump up, and then it's CLM, then it's supplier management, then it's risk and performance and whatever. So intake and orchestration is certainly having its day right now in the market in terms of buzz and streamlining that request management experience. What does that mean? That means providing a much more consumer grade experience on the front end for business requesters to engage with the procurement organization than they have today. Even if you have implemented a procure to pay solution, in my view, and having watched these things emerge and develop over the years, they've almost become a parody of themselves. They start out, we're super simple, and then they just get more and more complex, and feature bloat takes over. And then finally you have something that looks just like the stuff that you replaced originally did. That's where I see a lot of the legacy source to pay vendors at. So our model is to do a really streamlined, super simple approach, guide the user through. And that's where the advent of AI, organizations like ours have that advantage, because AI wasn't ubiquitous a few years ago like it is now. And we've reached a point where we can reliably embed artificial intelligence. I said I wasn't going to mention it, and I did. But to reliably embed artificial intelligence in the front end to guide the users through the entire process and procedure as an assistant to help them get their requests through and be a shepherd to, as well as someone called alongside to help them. So streamlining that process just smooths out that motion to getting things in, and then ultimately helps with that better user experience, which goes back to that concept of innovation and procurement that we talked about a little bit earlier. We bring that to the table as part of our joint partnership here. Ben, I'll let you take bullet point number 2 here.
Sure. So on both sides of the system, we're looking at reducing the amount of risk that is hitting your departments, especially in these high risk times, and adapting to the supply chain changes that are coming thick and fast at the moment. The best way to achieve that is through a stable and deep supply chain for in terms of your sourcing solutions, as well as having total oversight of what's going on. To touch back on what Zach's just talked about, if you don't have an easy-to-use solution, everything else goes out the window because you won't get the uptake, right? So it's about getting your teams invested in what you're doing, so reducing the risk on that side, making sure all your for us sourcing for yourselves requests and projects are going through a tool. So there's total oversight and reduce risk that way. And then through things like supplier discovery on our end, you've got the ability to strengthen your supply chain, right? So go out and ask them questions, get those questions scored by experts within your team, and ensure that they're meeting the standards that you require, and that in case should it be that one company you're no longer able to work with, hey, there's another one you can go out and source straight away available to you, all tracked through the project solution on the focal point side, so that you've got total oversight on what activity is happening there. In terms of scalability, Zach, what have you got to say on that?
Yeah, so before I answer that, I got a question that's coming here on LinkedIn. So I'm going to read that out for us, and then I'll answer that question, and then I'll talk about the future proofing on the scalability bullet point there. So the question that I have on LinkedIn here from the audience is, at what cost to have advanced AI with full integration and high scalability? That's a good question. We've seen the cost of and I assume you mean like just the processing costs and what it costs to run the solution, and have that embedded. We've seen the cost come down so much for AI over the course of the past 12 to 16 months that it's become something, I won't use the term nominal, but it's become something that's certainly is not going to be too much of a cost impact that you're uncomfortable doing it. It's something that we tend now to sort of just, from like I'm talking focal point speak here, we tend to sort of just fold it into the cost of our application solution. If you pay on a subscription basis, of course, we tend to just sort of fold that into the cost of the solution, and it's just built right in, and it's nothing that's going to really knock the price up, because the cost of actually running the AI has come down dramatically. So hopefully, if I didn't answer your question entirely, just please put a follow up here, and I'll be glad to follow up with you. All right. So in terms of future proofing and scalability, Ben, this comes back to that innovation, and you're dealing with two companies here that innovate very, very heavily and are constantly bringing new features and innovations to the market. And so jointly, I don't feel comfortable going as far to say some of the pundit class that, what we're doing here is going to completely supplant source to pay by, 2028. I don't honestly think that's the case, but, you are on the cutting edge of emergent technology that I believe is going to be a wave of the future, if not replacing, so deeply embedded into the source to pay motion that it's going to become something that's obligatory. And intake orchestration and combined with sourcing like we're doing here, it will go from a nice to have in 2025, to the extent that it even still is, to a must have by 26 or 27, in my view. So by making these investments now, I think you're future proofing yourselves in terms of locking in the ability to continue to innovate and to glom onto what innovative corporations are doing. So Ben, I'll let you take forward enhanced team collaboration here a little bit and talk to us about that, what that means from your perspective.
Sure. So we've got a variety of different ways that you can get collaboration within the tool. So we have scoring. So you go out and ask your suppliers for a variety of different questions, questionnaires, whatever you see fit, and get scoring back from what a team and individuals. Make sure that the experts are vetting these suppliers for the correct questions. And on the focal point side, you've got the collaboration effort there as well to review the activity, and those can be automatically pushed through onto the Market Dojo side as well to keep that flow going. In terms of, I'm actually going to relate it back to the question as well. We have a variety of different tiers that people can buy in terms of their sourcing license. The middle one is really focused on collaboration and things like AI generation of things. We have AI generation of questionnaires just to improve that efficiency throughout the process, as well as building on, okay, well, now I need someone to vet this thing and ensure that it's accurate, so that when it does go out to market, you're certain that you're sending out a thing that's airtight, again, reducing risk, as well as hopefully producing cost savings. Zach, if you can touch on that.
Yeah, here's what I'm going to do. I realize as we review these, I probably should let you do the cost savings one, and I'll take the in collaboration. So let's do it. I'll make one remark here.
Sure.
With orchestration, that's part of what it's all about. It's not just tying systems, it's tying teams of people, whether they're in procurement and sourcing or it's in IT and security and risk and finance and whatever. It's all about, literally, conceptually, it is about tying people together so that they can collaborate, not just internally, but also back with the business and then out with your supply base as well. So that's really what Focal Point is all about as a solution. And then we folded Market Dojo into that, which also has a heavy collaborative element as well. Ben, I'll let you take cost savings since there's such a hard ROI, I think, associated with what you guys do.
Thank you. Yeah, we this is really what we pride ourselves on. So we have a variety of different ways on what is essentially getting the most competition out of your supply chain, right? So whether that's through an RFQ or multiple rounds of RFQ, a host of different auction types, we've got a variety of different solutions that can drive savings in the right manner. So for perhaps not very deep supply chains, Japanese auctions, perhaps for deeper supply chains, more open auctions, whatever it may be, they'll all add up to that 16% overall saving. On top of that, it's also about knowing where to save, right? So through this partnership, it's easier to get access to those areas where perhaps you weren't looking to save before. Perhaps on the indirect spend or on that tail spend, it's quite hard to keep track and to get everyone using a solution that they can drive savings through. So this partnership also opens that up by giving the wider business access, a route through to this sourcing that can drive cost savings through both solutions.
Fantastic. So I'll take effortless compliance here. Again, part of orchestration is modeling business processes in a technology solution that then guides the entire user base, whether it starts on the front end with intake or it's all the way through your N number of departments that need to be engaged, legal, finance, IT and security, et cetera. Everybody is brought in and provided with the right information at the right time to make the right decision for the company. That's what orchestration is all about. And so we drive that effortless compliance because the process is built in and it's paint by numbers. You follow this and you've got a single pane of glass upon which you can look and see and visualize everything that's going on with any demand within the business, whether it's something out of a request, something that you plan strategically in procurement, you're executing it and everybody's following the same processes and procedures. So we'll move on to the next slide here and talk about a use case. This is a real client here between the two of us, Focal Point and Market Dojo. Very pleased to bring joint clients into the market and be able to talk about these. So in this case, this was actually a replacement for Scout RFP. Market Dojo had the RFP engine that we were able to do, and Focal Point added on top of it the intake, the contract management, as well as the orchestration components to tie everything together across that request to sourcing to contract motion that needed to be done. So this is a major retailer, about $2.5–3 billion worth of revenue annually. So it's a nice sized company for both of us, actually, that enable us to really kind of get in and do something, I think, incredible, actually, to replace and not only replace, but add value on top of the original investment that they had in Scout, which is now, of course, Workday Strategic Sourcing. So we did a lot of stuff here. We got this implemented in a relatively short period of time and gave them an overall better experience. We were able to simplify their workflow processes, provide greater transparency and visibility than they had previously, because the way the orchestration layer works, you just naturally provide that greater transparency, and then have dramatically reduced the amount of manual labor that they were having to do. Even with what was I'll call it a legacy, fully integrated solution with Scout, we were able to do a lot, get them miles down the road in terms of automation. Ben, you may have a comment here, and then we'll be wrapping up with any further questions.
Yeah, I think it's what you touched on earlier, that there's a level of perhaps clunkiness to those kind of solutions that we can better ourselves from, and the intuitive UI across both platforms, I think, has been a real breath of fresh air for them. Obviously, on our side, they've seen the savings continue. They're already with us, but they've seen the savings continue and slightly increase since the partnership was brought in. And the best thing is they can link the two, right? That sourcing activity, where did it come from? Oh, okay, there's the initial request in Focal Point. You've got that clear auditability from start to finish on where your activity is coming from. So, yeah, they're happy. We're happy. More of the same, please.
Absolutely. All right, so we're right at the bottom of the hour. If you do have any questions, feel free to pop those into the chat here, and we'll answer those here. If you don't, fantastic. I think the recording is going to be going on after this, so if you want to listen, we'd love to engage with you. So our contact information is going to be provided between Ben and myself, and then with our two mutually respective companies. We would love to engage with you and have a deeper conversation, talk about how we can drive this type of innovation, our return on investment, and transformation inside your procurement organizations. We thank you so much, Ben. I want to thank you for taking some time today.
Thank you.
Amazing time. I really enjoyed it.
Cheers. You too. Thank you very much, all. Been lovely to speak to you.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.